Hi, my name is Safwan. I am the programmer and tester for the city of Serlon.
Hi, I'm Janice. I'm the art lead of the city of Serlon, and I work on decorating the city, adding lightings and all sort of stuff which is related to art.
My name is Wolf. I study games design. With respect to our project City of Serlon, I'm in charge of social media, a little bit of project management. I help Janice with doing some 3D modeling. I also help out with testing and level design with Safwan. Other than that, I would say kind of the communicator of the group.
My name is Mabin. I'm a first year music student and I'm working on the music and sound design for City of Serlon.
The game to me is about running around the city, finding stuff, finding the parts to progress and also to enjoy the movements.
Our game gives the players the opportunity to experience a dystopian floating city in a fantastical world that we made up. In this city, you can strategically maneuver these clusters of buildings, and you need to make sure not to get lost. You need to always keep your orientation. You also need to make sure you know where the malicious patrolling units are that are trying to hunt you down. But you also need to be aware of the fact that you're trying to look for parts and actually complete an objective. So there is the strategic aspect of completing the objective and how are you going to go about it. And then there's the pressure, which is the AI chasing the player throughout.
So when I heard that they needed someone for their new project, I was really excited to work with them, especially after I heard about what the game was about. The fact that this was sort of going to be set in a dystopian, futuristic city, I had loads of ideas about how that sort of soundscape would be.
At the beginning of the first semester, I researched on the Kowloon Walled City, which is a demolished city back in Hong Kong at my hometown, and I kind of fall more into it and I developed 3 prototypes and how to turn this city into a game. One of it is a stealth game which kind of evolved into the game right now, just about being a kid trying to follow the police in a city and trying to get to the final destination. And right now it's kind of changing a lot, even though the look of the city did not change much at last. The gameplay experience is quite different from what it is from the beginning.
Janice approached me to help her with her game, and it attracted me in terms of the style of the game, which is moving through the city, having multiple paths to go through, and I liked the idea. It sounded fun.
That I did find very interesting about the whole development process is how the vision or the intended experience that we wanted the player to have morphed based on variables that affected how well we could create the game. So sometimes it had to do with our personal skill just not being there, and sometimes it was just design decisions based from testing, and sometimes it's also just preference, right? So there's these different factors that play into what the end result of your game is.
So the first vision of the game, from my actual first prototype of the game, was us trying to have a race between the AI, trying to get to the final point before them. And we use distractions to hinder the AI so we can get there faster than them. Now, when we went through the gameplay, we learned that the player would just skip through exploring the city, skip through trying to stay in the buildings and just go straight to the point, which is not the experience we wanted. And from learning that they enjoyed movement, we wanted to focus on movement. And that's where we are right now, where we have as much movement options as possible within the game to help the player just explore and just maneuver.
What I found especially fascinating is because we had this agile approach, there is no way that we could have predicted what the final version of our game would have been like, and that's what's so great, because this constant iterating and testing really gives us insights on what works and what doesn't, what's cool and what's not. So along the way of the whole process, the game has literally had different forms and morphed, and I just find that was a very interesting process to follow.
So an example of that was the change of climbing, where we wanted to think of a new way to move the player through the city, as the climbing felt very restrictive and the player didn't have any control into what to do. So we had a meeting where we wanted to discuss new movement options, as wall jump, the hover, and the triple jump. Now, the wall jump, most people liked the most because it felt the most in tune with the game in terms of like, it just felt natural.
The challenging part is, of course, there's like a lot of areas that I'm not really familiar with. For example, modeling the character and like trying new apps such as the Maximal and rigging them, and also animation, which I later get help from Safwan, and he did a really great job on animating the characters. Yeah.
I think one of the greatest challenges was the camera movement. It was very difficult to do. I was using a plugin called Cinemachine, which had its own 3D camera that can rotate around the player and all that, everything like that. It's very simple and easy, but then there came the problem of, because the city level design itself was quite compact, very tight spaces, the camera kept zooming in and out, and it was disorienting the player.
Yeah, so this is also the first time I've done any sort of real serious sound design. So yeah, sort of figuring out how to think about sound design in terms of turning ordinary sounds into things that they aren't. So for example, turning sort of sheets of paper into rocket booster shoes, things like that. Thinking about how to make the sound that I want and how to get there using the tools I have. My favourite bit about working on the project has just been working with the team with Wolf, Safwan and Janice. They've been really great to hang out with whenever we sort of do a team meeting to call. It's been just great to chat with them and also to keep my morale high, I suppose, and keep my motivation going.
It was a very enjoyable experience working with the team. All of us set each other goals for each week. We encourage each other, try to check up on each other. With all of us always chatting, socialising, even during the meetings. Obviously we are serious, but we also have time to just joke around.
It's been great working with the team, as I do feel like if I'm alone, I won't have that much motivation, especially when you see how others did new stuff to the game and kind of get me excited for myself to work on the game again. And the team came from different backgrounds, and we do all have different experience and cultures, which also adds to the game itself.
So no, I was very happy to be able to be put in a group with Safwan and Janice, and just the enthusiasm that Mubin brought as well. It's just nice, and just getting involved in these things. So
in the end, I wanted to choose a team which I really relied on and people that I can trust.